everybody, I'm Wildman Wes, and welcome to the Wild Wolf Show's first ever Planet Powerbomb. We've been planning on doing a couple of these segments for professional wrestling for a while now. We just haven't really had the time or, the place for it. So I decided maybe this would be a good place to start. So we are going to start off with last night's Clash of Champions on WWE. It was a fairly decent pay-per-view. It's been a while since I've been watching some of the new stuff. I've been trying to get back into it, but what better than last night? Starting off Clash of Champions was a triple threat match for the United States Championship between Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, and the reigning champion Baron Corbin. Now, the match for the most part was pretty decent, somewhat fast-paced, a lot of reversals here and there. Baron Corbin kind of felt a little stiff. I mean, he's had some really good matches in the past and, not so many good matches in the past. But I'd like to think that he held his own in this one. One of the best moments that Baron Corbin probably had in this match was a powerbomb suplex where Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler were going in for a suplex off the top rope, and then Baron Corbin basically countered it all, powerbombing everybody, which I thought was, pretty decent moment in the match. I would say probably the stiffest part of Baron Corbin's performance last night was when he was giving Bobby Roode a chokeslam backbreaker outside of the ring. It just seemed a little stiff to me. The match ended when Baron Corbin was going for the end of days on Bobby Roode, and one of the most, fun moments for me, kind of going, what the hell, did that just happen, was when Dolph Ziggler hit the zigzag on Baron Corbin while he was performing End of Days, which in turn, Dolph Ziggler wins the United States Championship, making him a Grand Slam champion in WWE. Apart from some of Baron Corbin's stiff moments in the match, I would say with all the fast-paced moments and a lot of the reversals going on, I would give this match a B+ altogether. We then move on to a side segment between Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, who are basically giving each other a lot of crap, dealing with the fact that they're both going to be referees during the tag team match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it is what it is. Then after that, we move on to Baron Corbin being interviewed after his match, and he just has pretty much a hissy fit. But then again, when you lose a title, you lose a title. The next match of the night would be a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles involving Aiden English and Rusev versus New Day versus Shelton Benjamin, and I'm so glad he's back after a long hiatus. I mean, I'd seen him back during the Attitude Era or the Post-Attitude Era. Really awesome. And his partner, Chad Gable, versus the reigning champions, the Usos. Aiden English doing a kind of 12 Days of Christmas regarding Rusev Day, and funny for the most part, but the one thing that was kind of missing during each number of days, I was really hoping that the audience would do a little Stone Cold What chant, but you can't get everything, right? One thing I've actually liked about Rusev recently is the fact that he started off as kind of this really stoic, kind of Russian-type wrestler, but they've kind of given him a little bit of a comic relief nowadays where he just seems like that the fans are, they're liking him now, which I did like his performance of kind of being a goofball within that opening segment. There were a couple different moves that I liked throughout the Fatal 4-Way match. Kofi Kingston's drop kick, or the stomp kick, I thought that was pretty innovative. I mean, Kofi Kingston, when it comes to some of his high-flying moves, as well as some of his aerial assaults, he never, ceases to impress anybody. One thing I didn't care for was that when Rusev was going for an accolade on Big E, it didn't seem like Big E was kind of selling it. It almost looked like he was smiling. If you go back and actually watch that part of the match and you see him, he looks like he's smiling. And for me personally, you gotta have to sell some of those moves. I don't care how big you are, but yeah, you gotta sell them once in a while. One of the most impressive moments during the Fatal 4-Way would have to be Chad Gable. This guy is a beast. He was literally probably half the size of most of the guys in that match, and he was, doing back suplexes on Big E, Rusev. I mean, he almost went on one for the Usos. I mean, but still, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future. So after Chad Gable's suplex rampage, the Usos turn the tables and retain their tag team titles for SmackDown. So the next match of the night would be the Lumberjack/Lumberjill match for the SmackDown Women's title involving Natalya going up against reigning champion Charlotte Flair. The participants outside of the ring during the Lumberjack match was kind of a mixed bag. You have Naomi, you also have the Money in the Bank winner Carmella, you have, let's see, Tamina, you have Lana, and then you also have the Riot Squad, which consists of Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan. I would have to say that the match was decent for the most part, but mainly when it was inside the ring. It seemed as if the Lumberjacks were trying to interfere more than they were trying to put somebody back into the ring had they got knocked out. So that kind of got a little bit annoying for me. Kind of a funny moment that would be considered mostly an epic fail. Carmella looked as if she was going to try to cash in her Money in the Bank that last night, and unfortunately one of the other Lumberjacks came in and stopped her from doing that. Another thing I found funny would have to be with in-ring attire. Now, recently the WWE went out to Abu Dhabi for a tour, and the women's division was being more conservative with their in-ring gear, and basically covered up for the most part. Going back into a match within the States, they're being a little bit more revealing, and I made a joke to myself about the fact that there was so many wedgies and so many write-ups that you'd think that the football team was somewhere around doing the same thing to the chess club. So yeah, kind of a wardrobe malfunction, but at the same time, hey, it is what it is. In the end, Charlotte picks up the victory, retaining her title, and of course Natalya has to have a big hissy fit, and she mentions the fact that Charlotte uses her family's name to keep her having the title, which is kind of ironic and a little bit hypocritical, because doesn't she claim that she's from the Hart family? Yes, her father is Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and yes, she uses the Hart Foundation's music. So technically, she can't be going around talking about people using their family name if she's doing it as well. So, hypocrite. All in all with the match, I found it somewhat entertaining, but at the same time, with the Lumberjacks constantly interfering with the match, as well as some of the little issues with Carmella failing to cash in her Money in the Bank, and of course the ending with Natalya having her little heart tantrum, I would probably have to give this match a C. Solid C. I'll be fair on this one because I will admit, usually with a Lumberjack match, I'm used to the Lumberjacks putting somebody back in the ring after beating them up instead of consistently trying to interfere with the match, because that's what we're here for, right? We move on to a side segment with the Singh brothers being interviewed outside Jinder Mahal's dressing room, and at one point they say he cannot be disturbed because of the fact that he needs to meditate before his big match. They also say that he wants to become a two-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion. They probably should have taken a page out of Booker T's book in learning how to count how many times for that championship match. Next match on the card, we have the Fashion Police of Tyler Breeze and Fandango, a.k.a. Breezango. I find that very amusing. I think that, Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor from Too Much and Billy and Chuck are calling. They kind of want their little, they want some of their gimmick back. Versus Rowan and Harper, the newly founded Bludgeon Brothers. For what it's worth, it was decent being a squash match because depicting the sizes of each team, you kind of had a feeling the Bludgeon Brothers were going to win. The one thing I really didn't care for is the fact that the introductions of both tag teams took longer than the match itself, and of course, they even had enough time to introduce everybody on the international ring announce tables. And one thing that I thought was interesting about that was Ray Rougeau was part of the French announce table, which he was a wrestler back with his brother Jacques in the 80s with the Rougeau brothers, and as well as during the Attitude Era, Funaki on the Japanese announce table. So, indeed. One of the most brutal moments in the match, being a squash anyways, would have to be when the Bludgeon Brothers gave Tyler Breeze kind of a mini electric chair drop on the apron of the ring where he just went face first, and honestly, for me, that's pretty brutal. I actually enjoyed it, though, just watching, somebody that I really don't care for getting the knocked out of them. The one thing about the ring attire for the Bludgeon Brothers was it kind of looked like a knockoff between Kane's original ring attire from 1997, as well as mixed in with the tag team of the Ascension. So it kind of rubbed me kind of weird, but at the same time, I think we were more used to Rowan and Harper being part of the Wyatt family with their original ring attire, just being kind of, outback type, hillbillies in a way. But maybe they might find something that suits them better. All in all, being a squash match, and technically it being an introduction of Rowan and Harper's new tag team, being a force to be reckoned with, and being too long and the introductions taking longer, I'm going to be fair, and I'll say just because of this force to be reckoned with, I'm going to give it an A-, just because I didn't really like Breezango, and I'm glad somebody put them in their place. We now move on to a side segment interview with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, discussing the fact, should they lose their match at the event, they would be fired from WWE. Not just SmackDown, not just Raw, all of it. And Kevin Owens talked about how he felt that Shane McMahon would find a way to screw him over. And what I like about his interview is that when he first started out, he was he didn't seem a little timid. It's just he didn't know where he fit as a character. And I think during the time that he worked with Chris Jericho, he definitely learned how to plug promos as well as interviews. So I commend him for that big time. We now move on to that tag team match of Shinsuke Nakamura and Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The conflicting factors of Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan both being referees and rooting for opposite teams made it a little hard because of the fact that they kept getting in the way of each other. I got to admit, the battle of the refs was pretty annoying at times. Another thing I really didn't care for was I think that there was too much trash talk really early into the match. Sami Zayn kept getting into Randy Orton's face, screaming at him while he was in the ropes and up against the turnbuckle. So yeah, I figured if they were going to do that, maybe more midpoint of the match where there was a little more heat being drawn. So, who knows. One thing that made me laugh a lot was during a moment when Shinsuke Nakamura was going for a triangle on Kevin Owens, and all of a sudden Shinsuke's shoulders get put down on the mat, and Daniel Bryan starts trying to give a 3 count, and Shane shoves him, asking him, why are you doing that? And he keeps saying his shoulders were down. This kind of reminded me of back in WrestleMania 8 during the match between Roddy Piper and Bret the Hitman Hart, when Roddy had Bret in a sleeper hold, and then when he goes over the turnbuckle, Bret kicks him over, rolls up, puts Roddy's shoulders on the mat, and he wins the Intercontinental title. So that kind of made me laugh a little bit. It is one of those debates of whether or not a offense move while being in a shoulders down position should consider a pinfall. I've never really known. I'm still on the fence about it, but sometimes I think if you have an offensive move, technically you should be counting somebody's arm for the tap out. So if you think, maybe it should be one way or another, leave a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think. I'd like to know. There were some spots during the match where I kind of got a little bit bored myself. I don't know if any of you were feeling the same way. However, they did decide to pull a table spot where Shinsuke Nakamura was being knocked through the table by Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It was kind of a cheap pop. You got a holy chant. But, it was effective for the most part. All in all, with the pace of the match, as well as some of the high flying of Shinsuke Nakamura saving the match, even for the brief moment that he was a part of it, I would have to give this match a C+. We now move on to the main event between Jinder Mahal versus AJ Styles for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. There was definitely a lot of heat going into this match because about a month ago in Manchester, AJ Styles defeated Jinder Mahal for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. Also, recently, during their tour in Abu Dhabi, Triple H defeated Jinder Mahal, which kind of gave away a little bit of his push. They've been pushing Jinder recently, and some people feel it maybe not be for the best, or maybe they might have pushed him too soon. But in the end, I would say this match was probably one of his better matches, if not his best ever so far. I have to give a shout out to the Facebook group, Yep, I Love Wrestling, because that question was posted last night, and I couldn't agree more. Unless somebody else disagrees, leave a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think. If there was a match prior to this one, let me know. I'd be glad to review it and double check my homework. Deep down, this match was a fight. There was a lot of rough moments going into it. Jinder Mahal was manhandling AJ Styles for the most part in the beginning, which gave away this kind of idea that AJ Styles' ribs were injured at some point. And also on the retrospect, on the other side, AJ Styles was hitting Jinder Mahal in the back of his left hamstring most of the night. So you could tell both of them had a type of injury during the match that they were definitely exploiting. I did love this match because of how fast-paced it was, regardless of some of the manhandling of Jinder Mahal towards AJ Styles, and a lot of high-flying moves of AJ Styles as well. I did love the fact that Jinder Mahal tried to go for the Styles Clash. However, it did get reversed into the calf crusher. And at one point, with most of us as wrestling fans know, sometimes somebody might try to grab the rope. And we thought it was probably going to happen. However, AJ Styles pulled a fast one and rolled him up around the center of the ring and kept him in that calf crusher, making Jinder Mahal tap out. And AJ Styles retains the WWE Heavyweight Championship. Regardless of the fact that Jinder Mahal may not have some of the greatest matches of all time, necessarily, I would say this one definitely is one of his better matches, if not his best match so far. I'm not sure if they might try to put him back into the jobber scene for a while or try to give him a push in the near future, but I would dare say his performance, as well as AJ Styles putting him over for the most part, I would give this one a solid A. It was probably the best match of the night. Overall, with some of the moments during the night that was kind of slow or just didn't really fit well enough, I would have to give the whole pay-per-view itself a B. I was going to give it a B+, however, the one thing that really killed it for me was a little bit of the commentary between Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Corey Graves. Granted, they are really great commentators, it's just that they sounded like children arguing on the playground a lot during the night, and it really just threw me off, and I just started getting annoyed because I wanted to watch more of the match than hear them complain all night. I wish that they might have had at least one legend wrestler in for commentary, maybe whether it was JBL or even Booker T, because it would have given a little bit more of a contrast of somebody that actually had been in the ring for a while, as opposed to people that just, almost seemed like a bunch of Michael Coles running around. So that was our recap of Clash of Champions. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like, share, and push the red button, as well as ring the bell for instant notifications on future content and episodes. Other than that, if there's anything you'd like to see on Planet Powerbomb, or as well as any of our other shows on Dragonfire Entertainment, be sure you leave a request in the comment section below. We'll be sure to get to it as soon as possible. We're also hoping to do a little bit more with this segment, as well with our some of our friends at Film Nerd TV. We are hopefully going to be doing something soon where we do a little wrestling panel about some of our favorite WrestleManias, favorite matches, least favorite matches, funniest moments of certain wrestlers. And if there's something you'd like to see during that segment, please put a request in the comment section below. We want to get this up and running as quick as possible. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes, and I'll see you soon.